Hello and welcome to another one of my Farming Simulator 2019 tutorials or how-tos, if you will. In this video we're going to talk about how you can deal with one of the most common commodities in Farming Simulator, that is hay, grass and silage. Now, like the previous video, this is not going to be a general tutorial on how to do things in Farming Simulator 2019. But I will, however, tell you a little bit about the equipment that you need in order to get those crops, those commodities, and obviously you can use that for the vanilla game itself. But I'm mainly going to talk about the differences between the vanilla game and when you have Seasons 19 installed. So let's start by taking a look at the equipment. I introduced the forage harvester in the last video, so I'm not going to go into details with that. Obviously, if you want to make silage from chaff, you're going to need that equipment. In order to get hay or grass or silage that way, first and foremost, you need a mower. Now, this is the krone, or krone. I'm not sure if it's Swedish or whatever it is, but, well, I'm a Dane, so I would most likely call it krone, but let's call it krone. But it's called Big M 450. This is a relatively big mower, and since it is, well, an equipment in one piece, you can use it for that alone to mow, but you can get quite a bit of work done in a relatively short amount of time. I think it has a reach of something like 8 meters or 7 or something like that. Let's take a look. That was there. Almost 10 meters, so 9.9 meters. It's pretty big. There are, of course, other options for you, more cheaper options, or if you are not doing your harvesting on a big map like Midwest Horizon, but smaller maps. So in order to check that out, we're just going to go on a little trip to the shop. So it's just like in Star Trek, Scotty has beamed me over here. Because I didn't want to haul all this equipment back to the farm, because believe it or not, it actually takes quite a bit of time to drive things back and forth. Now, this is the... what are they named? Is it Novacat? I'm pretty sure they have another name, but I can't remember it. Yeah, the Pottinger Novacat X8. You can couple those together like this. I think the most realistic way would be to have the shorter head here on the front, and then put the two big mowers on the back. But in Farming Simulator, you can definitely do it like this, and that gives you the advantage that you don't have a tractor in between the front and the back, so that you mow almost the same area. This is an implement that you put on your tractor, so obviously you need a tractor in order to have that, and you also need a tractor with a front 3-point hitch. You cannot do this without, well, you can, but then you have to put all the mowers on the back, and you can do it just like you will. The advantage of this implement here is that, well, on a farm, you usually tend to have tractors in advanced or in any way, so you don't really have to deal with getting the tractor, and obviously you can do with a much smaller tractor than this big John Deere 8R we have here. You can do with smaller tractors. I would say probably something like a big small tractor, or somewhere in the medium range will be most useful or most reasonable for an implement like this. Obviously, and this is also simulated in the game, when you put on an implement like this, it draws its power from this connector here, which unfortunately I can't remember what it's called, but this connector here draws the power from the engine. So when you start up this tool, you're going to take some power from the engine that otherwise would be transferred to the wheels. So if your engine is not powerful enough, then you will probably not be able to do mowing on that tractor in a reasonable manner, because then your tractor would either stall or become much slower than what's useful, or perhaps even one of the mowers won't start at all. I have actually experienced that I put both of these on a small tractor, and then I could only start one of them, the other would not start. So you need a relatively big tractor, and as always you can go in. Now I'm going to go into the garage, but if you haven't bought them, you can go and check. So you can see here, for the X8 ED you need 160 horsepower, and for the the 301 ED you need 70 horsepower. So something like 230 horsepower, something like that, you need in order to drive these. And obviously you need more than 230. That's 230 horsepower just to drive these two. Then you obviously also need some horsepower to drive your wheels. So if you take a look, we should go something like the 6R would probably, yeah, something like this 6R here. And then if you upgrade it all the way up to 300 horsepower, then you would be able to run it. This is one possible way that you can do it. This is the most, I would say, it is the cheapest way to mowing your grass, because you obviously, you should have, I would say, a tractor in advance. You need that for your farm. Yeah. The other option, if you don't mind this old East German design, I looked at this and I didn't even know where it was from. I know that it was called Fortschritt, which is German for progress. But I just looked at it and thought to myself, this reeks of the old East Bloc, East German, Soviet states, and correctly enough, it is from that era and that area. So, but the advantage of this is the same as the Krone. This is a single-use tool. So this machine here, this is the mower that we have here, and the advantage of doing this, let's just go over this. This implement here will only mow your grass. It will not windrow it. So you will have a streak of grass here, you will have a streak of grass here, and you will have a streak of grass here. Now you might argue that if it is necessary for you to ted your grass anyway, then it doesn't really matter whether your tool can windrow it or not as you go, because then you spread it out anyway and you need a windrow to collect it together again. The idea here is that this tool here, just like the Krone, will cut your grass and then windrow it to a nice little line out of the back here. I'm not going to show you how this tool here works. I'm just going to start it up so you can hear the engine. It's such a lovely sound. Just listen to this. It really sounds like that old diesel engine you could imagine from that era. So let me just park this up again, if I can. And let's take a look at the other equipment that you need. So for mowing your grass, and obviously there are other solutions, I haven't shown you all of them, but let's just take a look here. Mowers. This is the cheapest one. I think it sort of pulls out to the side so that you can sort of keep it in a slanted angle. I do believe it does that, I'm not sure. This tool here is the same. You can get one line with it. Then there is the partinger, and then you have these lily splendimo. They're basically the same as the partinger. The only real difference is that you can connect them together, so you do have to put one on the front of the tractor and the other on the back, depending on how you want to do it. Alright, so these are the options for mowing the grass. I'm just going to quickly go over for this tool here. This tool will mow and windrow your grass. If you need to ted it with that machine here, you also have this implement here. This implement, and you can choose another color, just my color here. This implement here will ted your grass. I'm going to talk more about when you need to ted your grass in seasons. That's different from the main game or vanilla game. And finally, you have this tool here for windrowing your grass once again. So it is going to, it's basically the same tool. So this is going to flip your grass around, and this snail here, this thing here, is going to pull the grass out to the side out here. And obviously, because there's nothing to stop it, it's going to be a relatively big pile. Now, the only difference between this and that, and I'm not sure why they made two, possibly because you can't have a windrower and a tedder in one tool, but nevertheless, it is completely identical to this one. The only difference is that we have this stopper plate here that will, you extend it a little bit, and then you get a nice fine line, so you have your grass windrowed. All right, so these are the tools that you can do. The other options that you have for cutting, mowing your grass. So let's go back to the farm. All right, this way. So like I said, this is the Krone mower. This is the biggest one that we have, and it is self-sufficient. Now, where you go from there are several options that you can do. First of all, if you want your grass to become hay, then you need to windrow it. If, and only if, and let me show you that. Again, you use your MT9 tool. You can see here that the grass crop wetness is 13%. If this is above, I think it's 20%, then you need to windrow it, ted it, in order to remove some of the moisture from the grass. Now, in the vanilla game, there are two different colors for the grass. When you mow it and it is grass, then it will have a darker color. When it is hay, it will have a lighter, still green color. As you will see here in seasons, we have three different colors. So we have dark grass for wet grass that is moisture above 20% that needs to be ted. Then you have lighter color, light green grass that is still wet grass, lighter wet grass that you don't need to ted, you just need to wait. And then when it turns to hay, it will become sort of a yellowish color. You're going to see that because we're going to make both silage and hay at the same time. Not from the same rows, obviously, but yeah, you get the point. Now, again, this is equipment for big fields. You have also equipment for smaller fields. If you don't want to go with the fortschritt mower, you just want to go with the tractor. Of course, you have all the tools that you need actually in one tractor, because these tools here can also be run by a tractor. So this is a tedder, like I said, in the vanilla game. If you want to make hay, no matter how wet your grass is, you just ted it, and that's it. Then you get hay, and you can put that into bales and store them somewhere. In Seasons 19, you will only need the tedder if your grass is more than 20% wet. If not, and you have used the tractor tool to mow your grass, then you will also need a windrower. Now, just like before, this is a windrower for big fields. There are obviously also windrowers for smaller fields. So let's look at the tellers. The smallest one, for example, is 6 meters. Then we have 8 meters, 13 meters, and that's it. So even the smallest tether, is, well, pretty big. The same goes for windrowers. You have the smallest one here, it is 4.6 meters. Then we have this Kuhn windrower here, special design. I have been told that this design here is more used in the US than the other designs. Then we have the smaller circular or it rotating windrower. It covers 9.3 meters, so it's pretty big. And then we have the big lily or lili, hibiscus circular windrower. It covers 14.8 meters. And then we have this Kuhn Merge Max. It's a different design. I think you can get it to windrow it out in different directions, just like with the Krone mower. But and this covers also 9 meters. And then obviously we have the windrower for the Fortschritt mower machine. When you have done all this, when you have mowed your grass, when you have set it and windrowed it, if you want to do that, then you have to decide for yourself in which direction you want to go. There are basically 2 ways you can go. You can go for the baling option. In order to make round bales, you need a round baler. Now this is the Kuhn IntelliWrap, so it means that it makes a round bale, and if that round bale is applicable for wrapping, then it will wrap it. This is pretty smart if you're pretty sure that you want to make all your grass bales into silage bales. Honestly, I cannot see why you want to do anything other than that, because particularly in seasons, your grass will rot no matter what you do. So even if you put them in a dry location, because the grass is dry in itself, your bales will rot, and that means that you will lose some of your grass, if not all of it. You will lose some of your grass, if not all of it. I'm sorry for the noise in the background. That's someone has decided that we needed to have our grass mowed here at this particular moment. It is right now 10:24 a.m. here in Denmark. Alright, so this is one solution that you can do. There's no doubt about that the round baling option is the cheapest one. Particularly if you go like the small New Holland roll belt 150, it makes round bales and then spits them out, and that's it. Then you also need, let's just try to calculate it together. So this is 49,000 and this is 8,000, so that means it's 57,000. Compared with this one. So this is the baler and this is the wrapper for round bales, that is. Compared to this one, where you have all in one, it is $67,000. So it's more expensive, but you can do all your things in one pass. Now, this machine here is intelligent in that way that it will not wrap your hay. So you cannot wrap hay here. You can only wrap grass. Besides that, the only disadvantage I can think of, and that's a more practical one, with round bales, is that they can roll. So if you have a very slanted field, then you can actually have all your round bales roll down to the bottom of the field, perhaps even out on the roads, and then the cars can smash them away and all those bad things. So that's the only disadvantage I can see of round baling. You also need, you don't really need this, but I would highly recommend it. This is the Ursus T127 or 127. It's a tool that can automatically pick up your round bales and then stack them. You can do this manually, but if you are going to make a lot of round bales, you will pretty quickly get bored and irritating of doing that all the time, because you have to pick up your bales and put them on a bale transport. Then you have to drive that bale transport to where you store your bales, and then you have to manually take them off the trailer again, and then stack them at that location. It might be more realistic, but it is also, quite honestly, in my opinion, excessively boring. So I would recommend that you get a automatic pickup wagon like this, for round bales that is. You of course also have the option to go for square bales. Now I can see I even forgot to buy an implement here, so I'm just going to I'm going to pause the video and then buy that implement and transport it back here. So be right back in 2 seconds. In order to make silage from square bales, you obviously need the square baler. Now, there are two main disadvantages of the square baler. The first is that it's pretty expensive. You can see here 105,000 for the Kuhn and 155 for the New Holland big baler. I haven't seen this one before, but this is the Massey Ferguson square baler. Also, it costs 125. And also they need a pretty beefy tractor. So this one needs 160 horsepower. This needs 200. This should be the round baler, yes, but no. Yes, this is also a round baler. And also the Kuhn needs 140. Compared to the roll build 150, it needs 70 horsepower. Also this one, it needs 110. So the horsepower requirements for the square balers are much larger than they are for any of the round balers. The big advantage of the square bales is that you can put more on top of each other if you use the auto grabber or the auto loader. And also square bales, well, they can't roll. So even if you have a very slanted field, when you put down a square bale, it stays there. But you can't get any of the square balers with wraps, not in the game at least now. So in order to make silage, you will also need a wrapper. Now, as far as I'm told, this wrapper here can take care of both round bales and square bales, but I have mainly used it for square bales only. So when you have wrapped your bales, then you have to let them sit on the field for a little while, and then you can pick them up with the automatic wagon here. This is the Acrisin FSX 6372. And again, just like the argument for the round bales, I would say that I got pretty quickly, I got bored or irritated that I had to stack them manually, because I'm not very good at stacking them in any case. So it will be, they will fill a lot, and yeah, you know. So just like in the other case, I would recommend that you go for a wagon like this if you want to go the bale way. Your other option is to go for the pickup way. So you can buy a pickup wagon like this. I'm not sure how to pronounce this, because it seems to be sort of a mix of German and English, but I would probably say it's a Schudemarker, but I'm not sure. Rapid 8400. This wagon here can pick up stuff from the ground, grass, hay, and even silage, and then you can put it somewhere. Now, obviously you can't store it in the wagon, so you need somewhere to put it. In the base game, you have one option alone. That is the hayloft. Now I know I have spread some bales around here, but yeah. This is the hayloft. You put in your hay or straw here, and then you can get it out in the other end when you need it. It can store 250,000 liters, I think. Let's take a look. Blah, blah, blah. There. 250,000 liters, yes. So without any mods, this is basically what you wanted to do. If you also wanted to make silage, and that is basically the same thing, you would need to have, with the pickup way, not with the bale way, you would need a clamp silo. Like this one over here. In the clamp silo, you can put in grass if you want to, but I would say the most obvious thing to do would be to put in some chaff. So you load off a lot of chaff in here, and then you need 2 tools in order to go anywhere from there. You need a roller like this in order to roll over to compact your chaff. And then you also, I would say, most likely need a leveler like this. You can use that for pushing your chaff around. Basically what happens is that when you roll it over with this roller here, you will spread out your chaff in a larger area, and then you can use the leveler here not only to level your chaff, obviously it's a leveler, but you can also use it like a shovel to push it back into the clamp silo. So let's say, for example, that you put some chaff right here, and then you run it over with the roller, and then some of it goes out here. Then you can use the leveler to sort of push it back in again. So you'll need these 2 tools in order to make silage that way, because you don't have any other areas to store silage. There's no silo for silage other than the clamp silo. If you, however, is not afraid of using mods, then you have a third option that, in my opinion, probably the way I wanted to go. I know the bale silage, it's fun, and actually, oh, sorry, wrong place. And honestly, I'm just going to turn it off because it's really loud. Honestly, I think that baling grass is pretty fun, so I like doing that. But if I want to make silage in bulk, then I would probably go for a fermenting plant like this. Now, it's also a fun challenge to make silage in the clamp silo, and from what I'm told, farmers do actually make silage that way. They put it in the clamp silo. I'm not sure if you can get a fermenting plant like this in real life, but it does make it a whole lot more easier to make silage this way. Now, like I've told you in the first video I made, I have modified this silage, this fermenting plant a little bit. I thought it gave out way too much output, so I think it gives now 3 liters per minute or something like that. I find that to be reasonable. But yeah, that's the tool you will need for making silage, grass, or hay. If you are experienced with Farming Simulator, you can actually stop the video right now, because I'm probably not going to tell you anything new. If you, however, want to see how Seasons 19 responds to particularly the grass, then stick on a while yet. So I want to start with the grass. So let's start by mowing some grass. And I hope you can figure out for yourself that whether you use this tool here or you use another tool, then the basic operation of mowing is just the same. There's no real difference. Just get this set up. There we go. Let's put it as close as possible. Oh, sorry. Wrong key. There we go. And let's begin to mow. I haven't figured out the keys yet. There we go. As you can see right now, the grass is the color you would expect for hay in the vanilla game. So that's the difference between the grass in Seasons and grass in vanilla game. This is semi-wet grass, if you will. So if it were really wet grass, it would be the darker color, and this is the hay color for the normal vanilla game. I'm going to rovers a couple of I'm going to mow a couple of rows, and then I will get back to you when I'm done. So see you there. The last couple of rows, I want to show you when you run over your fields, over your grass with the mowers you could put on top of your tractor, on connect you to your tractor. I want to show you, and I believe this should be able to, widespreading should be the way you would see it in using those tools. So let's see how it looks. Yeah, as you can see, there's grass all over the place now. This is the typical way you would see it when you mow your grass, and this is also reasonable well this way you would see it when you mow your grass with the tractor connected implements. So I'm going to show you the last couple of lines here, just what you would want to do, because then you would want to use the windrower in order to windrow it using your tractor. And that is also one of the advantages of having the tool like this, the Krone, Big M, or the Fortschritt tool, or whatever you want to call tractor. It's not really a tractor, but something like that. Mower is that you can mow and windrow in one pass. But if you don't mind going back and forth a couple of times, then it's not really a problem if you don't have the ability to windrow at the same time. And also, obviously, if you want to make hay and you need to ted, then that advantage is simply completely gone. You don't have it anymore, because you need to spread out your grass once again. So let's just mow the last couple of lines here. I'm going to leave a little patch of grass because I don't want to do it all at once. And I'm going to talk about what we're going to do with the lines of grass that we have for now. I think the first line I'm going to make silage bales, round silage bales with the all-in-one tool. The next line I'm going to make square bales using the square baler, and then wrap those, so you can see how we're going to do that. And finally the last two lines plus the lines that we have here, we're going to make hay of that. And then finally, when we have hay, we're going to bale it, and also we're going to use that pickup wagon over there to show you how you can store hay at the hay loft. I'm not going to go over straw. Sorry about that. I'm not going to go over straw in this video here, because I think it's the same basic ways that you can do things. Instead of pick up hay, you can pick up straw, and you can either bale it or you can put it into the hayloft. And also, yeah, let's just take the last two lines here the same way. Yes, and also, in my opinion, it is really more relevant when we are in the next video. I'm going to talk about how you can do with animals, how you're going to feed your animals, what is different in seasons compared to, again, the vanilla game. And you're going to use a lot of hay there if you want to give your animals bedding. So while all of the things that we do here, straw, hay, grass and silage, those are actually only relevant for cows. So if you don't want to do cows, then this video is not that relevant for you. But obviously you can also sell silage bales, so if you want to go that way, it is really relevant for you. And you can also sell silage that you have made from the clam silo at the biogas plant, but then you need to buy that biogas plant or the area with it. Now, one of the things you need to be aware of that you might find a little bit strange is the speed at which you make hay is not quicker over in that area here where we spread out the grass than when we get it into this swath here. At least we can try to test that, but as far as I'm told, it shouldn't make a difference. The only difference that is you're going to experience is the weather that you have. Obviously, if it rains, well, then you're going to lose some of your grass and you're not going to dry it as quickly. But if it's windy and warm, then you will get hay pretty quickly. Now, the unfortunate thing here is, and that's something you're going to see, is that I don't have a storage area for the bales. You will need a storage area for the bales, and when I say storage area, I basically mean anything with a roof on top of it. If you just place your bales outside on the ground, then you will lose some of the content because it rots away. So this is the final line here. Yes, you will lose some of it and it will gradually rot away. So it's not just like you're going to lose a little bit and then it's over. If it gets wet, then it will rot. I am not sure whether they have implemented in seasons that it will dry out again. Obviously, if it rains on a open bale, one that's not wrapped, and then some of it begins to rot away, then at some point that bale will be dry again, and then you shouldn't lose any of it. I'm not sure about that. We're going to have to test that out. You're going to have to test that out in your game for yourself. If I had to test it out in a video like this video would be much longer than an hour. It would be probably 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, because we would have to go over again and again and again in order to get enough rain to test it out. Now I have an idea of that this video is going to be relatively long because I am also going to go over how you're going to... I'm not going to go that much into details on how you're going to cut your crops in order to get chaff, because I already showed you that in the last video. But I'm going to show you instead what you can do with that chaff when you have it, particularly in the clam silo and the fermenting plant. So let's take the square baler. Sorry, not the square baler, the round baler. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit here. If you are running the vanilla game, you will have 2000 liters bales, and that's it. What I can do, as you can see here, I can change the bale capacity. So I'm actually going to change that to 10,000 liters. That will give me less bales, but it will also make it much more quicker to run this over. Alright, so let's see. I'm going to set this at roughly the same size as the mower. Something like 10 meters. Because then I can make the tractor go straight. That should be it. It should be able to pick it up some roughly. Now, may have to correct it a little bit. Let's see if I can remember what buttons to run. Yep, and there we go. So let's pick up some grass. As you can see, the 10,000 liters are pretty quickly filled up, nevertheless. You're also going to see that one of the disadvantages of the round baler is that you have to stop all the time in order to roll out your bales. In the ordinary baler, you have to stop, loosen the bale, remove the bale that is, or lower it, and then you can continue again. As you can see here, it doesn't put out the bale that we have, so we need to unload it. It's the Y key. And then the next will come out. And we can continue. With the square baler, you can just keep on going. It will automatically unload. And of course, the advantage here is that it will make your work so much faster. Really. Let's lower it and put it out. Also, we can see whether some of the round bales will... oh, I forgot. Some of the round bales will roll around. It is actually a little bit interesting to be working on mowing grass here in the game, and then I can smell the freshly mowed grass from outside my window. It's a little strange. Yep. Now we're going to see that the square baler, you can just keep on going and going and going and going without any problems. I'm just going to adjust the route a little bit here. Like that. It seems to be able to pick it up anyway, but... oh, I forgot to. Let's turn it off and set it to... oh, okay. Well, then let's do that. Let's set it to... oh. Unload them. Let me see if I can do it now. Yes. Alright, so let's go. Sorry about that. Just forgot to set it to 10,000 liters. So, as you can see, we got a lot more bales from the... when it was set to 4,000 liters, obviously. Just about 3 times more bales. So... But as you can see here, I can just drive around, and then it will sort of slowly push out any made bales, any completed bales, and I don't need to stop up and unload and then drive and back forth and stop up and all those things. I can just go and go and go. I think we're going to make one row of grass bales, just so that you can see that they will eventually rot away. Now, a 10,000 liter bale is pretty big, so it will take some time for it to rot away. But the thing is, in seasons, you don't really need the grass, because you don't need to feed your cows grass. So I cannot see any reason why you want to go with grass. Oh. Just go back a little bit. Adjust it in. Something like that should do. And then let's pick up the final pieces of grass. I'm just going to unload them here if I can. There we go. Let's continue that again. Let's see if I can avoid getting torpedoed by one of the cars. And I'm going to adjust that driving line as well. Like that. So let's make the final set of grass bales, and then we are going to wait until the other lines are made into hay. While we wait for that, obviously the other row that we made with grass, I'm going to the other line with grass that we made, I'm going to wrap that as well. So now there's no doubt that the square baler is definitely more convenient than the round baler, because you don't have, like I said, you don't have to stop all the time in order to unload bales. You can just go on and on and on in one straight path. For small fields, I don't see that as a problem, because you don't have to do it that many times. But on a huge field, imagine I made grass on all of field 62, or even if it was straw, and had to make straw bales, then had to stop and stop and stop, on and on and on that huge field, it would be a pain in the butt. So oh yes, we got it. So let's unload the last two. Wrong place again. And let's get the wrapper. And now we just wait for the bale to get wrapped, and then we put it down, and then we take another bale, and then we wrap that, and then we got some wrapped bales. And this is precisely why I wanted to go for 10,000 liter bales instead of 4,000. In the vanilla game, you only have an option for 4,000 liters bales. Let's make a little room between them, little space. Now when we use the MT9 tool on these bales, you should see a percentage on if you are used to playing FS17 with seasons, I'm pretty sure you would have experienced this very fact, that in vanilla farming simulator, when you wrap your bales, they instantly become silage. In seasons, they don't. So as you can see, you have 48 hours to go. They are 0.12% fermented. Let's go take a look at the round bale up here, see if there's a difference between that. "48 hours to go." It's a little further, but still 48 hours. So why is that? Well, like I told you at some point, in Seasons 19, when you add that to your game, it will take 1/3 of a whole season for your silage to ferment, your grass to ferment into silage. In this case, 1/3 of a season. This is a season. This is a season. So 1/3 is this little box here. Now for a 6-day season, that 1/3 is 2 days, 48 hours. If it were 9 days, it would be 3 hours, 12 days, 4, and so on, so on, so on. No, not 4 hours, 4 days. But you get the point. So that is why you have to wait a little bit. You don't get silage right away. And while we wait on these bales here to become silage, let's take a look at the other way you can make silage using chaff. In my wholehearted opinion, I think that chaff is the way you want to go if you want to make silage in bulk. Now, using this little mod, you can find it on Mod Hub, that will give you the ability to drop that here. Move it out of the way. Oh, yeah. Now using that little bale mod that I have, let me see if I can figure, there we go. Now using that little bale mod, like I was trying to say, you can obviously get more content in your bales. You can actually go all the way up to 20,000 liters per bale. So even if you have a really big grass field, it is actually feasible with that mod to do it the wrapping way. So you can do it in bulk in that way. But if you want to do it, I think that the clamp silo also has its fun. So let's do that. But before we do that, I want to show you something. In the last video, I told you that if you plant your crops under certain conditions, you could actually risk the fact that you would lose part of your crops, that they would not germinate. So let me show you that. Let's just turn on grass. So there's our grass field growth. You can see here, and just see these little blue dots here. Let me just turn all things else off. That part here, and that part here, they are germination failed. I did also have some harvested, so I'm not sure why that has also popped up. That's the way that the season engines work, but like I told you, you would get these little patches where nothing happened. For example here. They are, well, it says growing, but yeah, there it was. Now you can see. Nothing. 0%. And it says down here, well, depending on how I place myself, it says germination failed at some points. So it can actually happen. Now I did plant these out of planting season. Planted them in early spring. And now we are in late summer. So that is probably the reason why. Now, if you want to use your, this is corn. If you want to use your corn as food for the pigs, then you would need to wait until you're actually, there you are, until you're actually in the harvesting season. And as you can see, if I run into the field, it says growing. Now this is the final growth stage, and as I showed you in the last video, in the final growth stage, you can actually just auto width this. You can actually get your, you can actually harvest your corn or whatever it is that you want to harvest as there we go, as chaff. You don't need to wait for the final growth stage or the harvest stage. You can get, whoa. I'm really bad at using this for, using my gamepad to control in this game. Let me just see, there we go. So let's get some chaff. Now the real problem with these tippers are that they are extremely hard to back with. So I have to use the unload here. One trailer? Or one tipper? So let's get the next tipper in. Alright, so let me just take a quick peek to see if I can find a better tipper to run the silage, sorry, the forage harvester. So be right back in a second. So it turns out there is actually a trailer that is most suitable for running with the Big M, with the Big X forage harvester, and it is this random trailer here. Now the thing is, it is not placed on the trailers, as you can see here. No random trailer here, and it's not a particular forage wagon like some of these are that can only hold some kind of forage, for instance this one. And as you can see, it does seem to have the right hook down here, but for some reason I couldn't get it. I don't think I could get it attached anyway, but it holds 45,000 liters. But if you go under sugarcane technology, there are two trailers here. They are both sugarcane trailers. They're called random, but they can also hold chaff. 66,500 liters for both of them, and this one has a dolly attachment to it right away. So it's still a pain to back with, but since you only need to connect one trailer, I don't think you can. No, you can attach the second one. It doesn't really make that big of a difference, but it does make a difference compared to how much you can get in one run. So let's get some more forage. So I think one full trailer of forage here is going to be enough to show you how you're going to deal with making silage in the clam silo. But obviously I would say it's, in my opinion, it's a good idea to fill it up completely, the clam silo, because well, then you get a lot of silage. Here's again one patch that didn't germinate or stands as harvested. It's what the one part that's harvested. So just so you can see that these things can actually happen. So I think I'm going to stop the video right here and then get back to you when I have finished harvesting a full trailer. So I'll see you in a little bit. So now we have a full trailer, and let's get back to the clam silo. It seems that it dumps it out in the side. Just test that out. Yep. Alright, so let's take a look. Let me show you what you need to do in order to use the clam silo. Now, having a relatively small amount in this big silo here, I'm actually not sure that we need the leveler. We probably only need the roller, but as you can see here, the compacting, it's 7%. We have 108,000 liters of chaff. I think we're going to get one more trailer full of chaff. So I'm going to get one more trailer full, and then I'm going to meet you back here. So see you in a bit. So now we have another tipper load of chaff in this clam silo here. And one of the things that you might have noticed is that if you want to fill up the silos in the height, in the altitude upwards, it's pretty hard to do that because you cannot roll that trailer on top of a really huge hill. So as we have done now, it is doable, but as more and more silage get piled on top of each other, it's pretty hard to do that. So I was wondering whether we could use the leveler to sort of push it into one end. So let's try that. Also, I think it's pretty cool that this is a tipper or trailer for sugar canes that you often see in the southern parts of the US and Mexico and those kind of countries, South America. So it says Vehículo longo complemento 30 metros. So it's a long vehicle and it's reaches out 30 meters, something like that. My Spanish is pretty bad, so yeah, I might be wrong on that. As you can see, I have also another mod here. Oh. So you need to fold it out like that, and then you put it down on the floor, and then you just drive back and forth. The problem is that you can end up scooping things back with you. So you need to be relatively slow when you do it. But it seems that it is doable. You can see some of it comes back again, and so it's a bit of a back and forth motion you need to do here in order to get it piled up. And it's not that easy to do. Now you can see I probably going to drop some of it. Let's try to go a little on it from the behind. See if we can push in a little bit there. But other than that, I'm just trying to collect it, and then we're going to run over with the boink. With the roller a couple of times. Alright, so let's try to use the roller a little bit. I really wanted to get this little bit of... Let me see if I can push it over like this and spread it over. Spread it out a little bit. As you can see, it will take some time for you to sort of get it leveled out evenly and nicely, but I do think it's worth the effort. Even though it is. It seems pretty much to be sort of 1 step forward and 5 steps backward. Alright, let's try to do it a little bit from behind, and then we're going to level it out. Of course, this is not a video to show you how you can level things out. It's a video to show you how you can make silage in Seasons 19. So let me just... I'm afraid it is the perfectionist in me that want to have this leveled out nicely. There we go. All right. So let's park this somewhere and let's get the roller. I'm going to pull out the menu here, because we need to have that menu out in order to see how much we have compacted our chaff. So let's just, we should back up and then do it like this. As you can see on the numbers, as I drive back and forth, I am compacting the material that we have. But as you hopefully can also see, when I compact it, I also spread it out. And that way you can, if you want to make this really perfect, you would have to sort of go back and forth with the leveler and then the roller, and then the leveler, and then the roller. I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to compact it as much as I can. When we are at 100%, we can, just like in the vanilla game, blank it out, put a blank over it, and then we will have fermenting silage. I think I'm going to speed up the video here so that you don't have to wait for me compacting this. So now I'm finished, and as you can see, we now have the option to blanket the silo. So let's press R. There we go. Now it is fermenting. Now, I'm not sure if we can use the MT9 tool. No, 8% wet, that's all we can get for. But, and it says it has fermented 1%. So we don't know how much time it's going to take. But I will bet that it takes 48 hours. Alright, now we're finished with that. Let's continue. I'm going to get another bunch of chaff on using the forage harvester, and then I'm going to meet you down here at the fermenting plant. So now we have a trailer full of chaff. Now here comes the interesting thing. Whether I can actually unload this reel, because as you know, I only tip the trailer. I don't have an actual tipping option. Or whether I will just dump it on the ground and needs to find another way to dump it out. Let's find out. As you can see, there's no dumping option. Let's see what happens. Just going to dump a little bit of it out. It seems to disappear. There we go. Alright, let's see what happened. Yeah, we got 66,496 liters of chaff in that machine. And it is happily making silage for us. 3 liters per minute. Let's try to increase time. See? Per minute, 3 liters. Alright. So I think now you have seen all the necessary steps that you need in order to make silage. Let's go up here, and then I'm going to increase time to 480 times, just like in the previous video. And then we're going to check sometimes to see whether, well, you can see this is interesting. Part of this is hay. This is hay. This is the color for hay. And part of it is not. Also the same over here. So it could suggest that, I'm not sure if we can see it now. Part of the grass that we had here were a little drier than the other. But this is how hay should look. Let's go over to one of the silage bales and check out how much has been done. 6%, 45 hours to go. So I'm going to increase time, and then we're going to see what happens. So, I just wanted to show you, as you can see here, all of this is now hay. So let's just check the weather forecast. To see tomorrow, it's going to be, there's not going to be any precipitation. Let's see. 120, no. So tomorrow, I think we can, we should be able to, let me see if I can find my, there it was. We should be able to windrow some of the grass. Hay, sorry, not grass, hay. And then collect some of it in bales. So see you tomorrow early. Now it is early morning. Let's check out this silage bale. 40%, 29 hours to go. Let's go and check the... Let's see if it makes a difference whether we have 20,000 liters. This should be a 20,000 liter bale. No, it's a 4,000 liter. Let's check this one. This should be a 20,000 liter bale. 40%? No, 10,000, sorry. But doesn't make a difference how much you have. Now, for this grass bale here. In seasons, if you leave grass out in the open, it will rot. If you bale it up and leave it out in the open, it will rot. If you put your grass inside a building, it will rot. Now, obviously I can't show you this because it hasn't rained yet, but if it were to rain, some of this grass, some of this hay here would also disappear. Let's check out, see how much we have in this bale. 9,485 liters. So as you can see, we are slowly losing grass from this bale here. All right, let's pick up a tractor and get the square baler. No, let's get the round baler so that you can see that with the hay, if we put in hay into the machine, into this round baler here, it will not wrap it. So it basically behaves the same way that any other baler would. So, yeah, okay, it's pretty okay centered. Now the first bale that we get is grass because we did have grass in the baler before. And this is also going to get wrapped. If you can hear something in the background, I'm drinking a cola, so that's the sound you can hear. But the next couple of bales that we get with hay, they aren't going to get wrapped. Empty it out. See? No wrapping. And this is basically the same way that the smaller, the round baler without the wrapper, it behaves. So you pick up all the hay or grass, no, not grass, yeah, also grass here, but all the commodities, whatever it is, straw, grass, hay, and then when you are finished, when the baler is filled up, you need to empty it out. And you need to do that manually by pressing the Y key. Let's make one more bale and then I'm going to leave the rest of the hay here. Because then we're going to windrow. Now as you can see, hopefully you noticed that the unwindrowed part, the part that we didn't windrow, didn't get converted to hay faster than the other. So in that sense, it doesn't make any real difference how you do just that. So if you windrow it, if you don't windrow it, as long as the grass is below 20% moisture, and you need to check that before you mow it, because otherwise you don't know how much you have. Alright, let's see. So as you can see, this is a pretty big windrow. Alright, let me see if I can get this to 14,799. Let's check how big it actually is. There it is. 14.8, and it said, yeah, I think that's pretty okay. Seems that we need 2 passes in order to get this ring road. So let's see what happens. And as you would expect with a big windrow like this, we get a pretty big pile. But then we're going to fill up the wagon a bit faster. So I think I'm going to bale one bale one row here using the square baler, and then we're going to pick up all the rest of the hay using the wagon that I showed you before, because I want to show you the last thing that you can do with your hay. You can put it in the hay loft. Now, what do you think is easiest for you? That is what you're going to do. I won't say that you should do one over the other, but I will say that I would recommend, if you don't use the mod, to change the capacity for the bales. And you want to do big farms, that means a big cow farm for example, then I think the best solution would be to use the hay loft. Perhaps even a couple of hay lofts. Now, one thing you do need to notice. There's a 250,000 liter capacity for hay, and there's a 250,000 liter capacity for straw. So you don't need to have one hayloft for hay and one hayloft for straw. You can use both commodities in both haylofts. You just have a combined capacity of 500,000 liters instead. And once again, let me see if I can avoid getting torpedoed by a car. No. They are insane in this map. Usually they stop if you're there, but those cars, they just plow you right over. Let me see, it should be this one, right? Yeah. Now we are ready to make hay bales out of this row here. Now, what I forgot to mention before is, in seasons, the idea is that if you leave out your hay like this, and it begins to rain, and the hay gets wet, you will lose part of that harvest, part of your hay. Now, whether that will happen or not solely depend on whether you have a season's mask on your map. Now, for the Ravenport and Felsbrunn, I believe that the seasons team, Realismus Modding, has added maps for that in the mod itself, so you don't need to consider yourself with those maps. But if you get other maps, mod maps from outside of Giants software, then there's a way that you can check out whether you have season's mask in your map or you don't. If you don't have a season's mask, then grass like this won't rot away, or hay for that matter. I think grass will, because that's depending on grass itself, but hay and straw won't rot if there isn't a season's mask. And also, I don't think that snow will fall also in the winter, because the season's mask tells the snow where it can fall and where it cannot fall. So let me just, let's go out of the game, and then I'm going to show you how you can check for a season's mask in your map. In order to figure out whether your map will have a season's mask or not, is to go into your mods folder. So usually for Windows 7 and Windows 8 and Windows 10 and on, higher versions than Windows 7, it is usually your PC, then Documents, My Games, Farming Simulator 2019, and then mods. Now, for instance, the map that I'm doing these tutorials on, Midwest Horizon, doesn't have a season's mask, but I have added it myself. The usual way to see this is to have a program like 7-zip or something like that, and then open the archive. Then you go into the maps folder, you go into the maps DE. It can also be maps US or map US. It depends on the map maker. And in there you should, down in the bottom, have a file called Seasons Mask GRLE. If you have that file in your maps folder, then your map is seasons ready, and then you will experience the destruction of hay or straw or grass if it lies outside, even if it's baled. Of course, if you have wrapped your bales, your grass bales, in order to make silage, that will of course not be destroyed because it is wrapped. But otherwise, if you lay it outside on the fields while it's raining, it will gradually disappear. It will rot. That is the idea. So that's the way you check this out. Now, back to the game. Alright, now that you know whether your map, or at least have the knowledge on how to test whether your map has a season's mask or not, let's collect some hay bales. Or not. I think I pulled up the collector. Let's see. There we go. And just like before, the first bale is going to be a grass bale. So, yeah. Then you can at least see that a fully made grass bale will have 10,000 liters. And then we can try to leave out some of the hay bales so that you can see that it is only the grass bales that rot away as long as it hasn't rained. But once again, I'm going to speed up time. I'm going to make 2 rows, not 1, 2 rows of, well, hay bales. And then the final, we're going to pick up the last 2. So see you in just a bit. Okay, so now we have made some hay bales. Let me just show you the last method that you can do, which I would say still, in my opinion, is also probably not the most fun one, but it is definitely, in my opinion, the easiest one.
Hay bales.
And it is to use the collector wagon here and just align the route so that we actually get the hay. Alright. And just like before, I'm going to speed up time because this is excessively boring to look at. So, well, see you when I'm finished. Now our wagon is full of hay, and let's go to the hayloft and empty it. Now, like I've said a couple of times now, and that is because I, well, really mean it. What you think is the easiest method of all of those I've shown you here is the method you're going to use. There's no method that is per se better than the other. There is a method that is probably more fun than the other. For some reason I can't... Oh yeah, I know why. Let me see. No? Ah, no more capacity for hay, so, well, that gives itself. But if there were more capacity for hay, let me just... Well, then let me show you the other way that you can do it. Because I also have the cow food mixer over here, and that should have more capacity for hay. Yep. But in general, you just do the same thing with the hayloft. You empty it into the hayloft, and then you can get the hay whenever you want it, and the same goes with straw. And the silage you can have in the clam silo, like I said. Well, I guess the only thing that's left for us now is to advance time so that we can actually get silage bales and open the clam silo, and then I can show you why I prefer to use the collector wagons instead of doing things the manual way. Again, if you want to play on a small farm, then collecting a couple of bales manually isn't really a problem. But if you're on a big farm like this with a huge fields and you want to have lots of animals, lots of cows, then collecting, well, I don't know, 200, 400 bales, I don't know how much you can make on one huge field, might get a bit irritating or annoying at the end. But let's advance time one day and take a look at let's just take a look at our freshly made grass bale. Was it this? Where was it? There. You can see it. Now we shouldn't have lost any grass yet. 10,000 liters. Let's go out to the hay bale. 10,000 liters. Alright. So, let's just check the forecast. No precipitation. A little bit here, but 0% chance. So, well, yeah. Let's advance time and see what happens. It is now 15:29, a day later, and as far as I remember it, when we made the silage bales, they were finished just around 1500, 1514, something like that. So it should have been 48 hours from that moment to now. Let's first check our grass bale here. 6,033 liters, so we have almost lost half of the grass. Let's check the hay. 10,000 liters. Because the hay is dry, so it won't rot. Let's check the silage bale here. Silage, 10,000 liters. Then just go. I think I saw a silage bale all the way out on the road, but it might have been something else. Let me just see if, or in the field somewhere around here. Now, like I said, the silage bales do have a tendency to roll around. That was almost out on the road. Alright. So let's go up to the tractor. Let's just jump around till we find it. There. Let's go down. Let's go down and connect this to a collector wagon. So I'm going to start with this collector wagon here to show you how it works. So you simply pull out this little scoop here. Now there is a little, I'm not sure whether it's a bug with the collector wagon or it's meant to be like that, but you can risk that for some reason that little arm there gets stuck on the ground and then you jump like crazy. There you go. 4 silage bales. Let's pick up the last one out here. And again, hope that we don't get torpedoed by a car. Like that. I seem to recall that we made some round hay bales somewhere around here. Let's pick those up as well. Now, this collector wagon here can hold 8 round bales. Now, the last bale here that we made, we shouldn't collect that because I'm pretty sure that it is not silage yet. No, 16 hours to go. So it's still 10,000 liters of grass. Let's put them somewhere around here. Maybe let's put them down here where we need them in the next video, where I'm going to talk about how you care for your animals in seasons. So let me just put it around somewhere here. Somewhere around here. Middle of anything. Yep. And then you press the Y key once to get it to tip it up like this. And press the Y key again to leave it. And then Y one final time to get the wagon to, well, tip down again. And while we're here, let's go take a look at the clamp silo here. So the clamp silo has 100% fermenting, and now we have silage here as well. Now, in order to grab this, there are 2 ways you can do it. One, and I'm just going to tell you what I would suggest, is to get let me see, where are the wheel loaders? This is a mod that you can get from the mod hub on the game. It's an 8,000 liter scoop or bucket for the wheeled loaders. That is those here. You can also do it with a skid steer loader, but the bucket is only 1,284 liters. I'm not sure. Well, there's a universal. Yeah, that's 1,200. So a relatively small amount that you can get every time. And the front loaders, I think that is also something like 940 liters. You can use a silage cutter or something like that. But again, it's 700 liters. So the biggest one would be with the, well, you can also do the telehandlers. There you get 2,600 liters. And there's also a, is there a, no. Yeah. I would say that for silage in a particularly in the large clam silo, I would definitely say that the big bucket here for 8,000 liters is what you would need. There's also a high dump for 6,000 liters, and that's it. The other way that you can do this to get these things out is to use a build system. So you would need a loader. I think this is the loader. So you would place that close to the silage here. And then depending on how far away you want to get it, you can use this extender here, or you can use this extender here. This is the one you would use to put your silage into a trailer, so you can raise this up. So these are the two only ways that you can get silage from the clam silo. Alright, so let's go and pick up some square bales now. The operation for this collector wagon here is basically just the same. The only difference is that the the round bale collector can hold 8 bales, and this collector wagon here can hold 16 bales. So more bales, and that's it. That's the only real difference. But as you can hopefully imagine, because I haven't showed you it and I'm not going to, but I hope that you can imagine that collecting the bales this way is immensely more easy than doing it manually. Now again, if you only have a couple of bales, perhaps 10 bales or something like that, you could do it manually. I would say it's not as fun, and it's definitely not as easy, but it can be done. Let's see if we can collect some grass bales, and then finally some hay bales. Now I'm going to do this in a way that you definitely shouldn't do this. Because I'm going to put grass bales in between the hay bales and the silage bales. I hope that you can imagine what will happen when the grass bales eventually disappear because they rot. Then all the other bales on top of those grass bales will fall down on top of them. And you can have a big pile of mess, actually. Let's just start from here. Doesn't really matter. You could, if you wanted to do it like this, I would suggest that you put hay bales in one row, grass bales in one row, and silage bales in the last row, or not the final row. But if you want to do it like this, you can do it, but I would highly recommend that you put any grass bales that you want in last. Because then when the grass bales rot away, that is of course if you don't use them until that, but if the grass bales rot away, then they will only just disappear. They will not, like here, make the hay bales at some point fall down on the silage bales. Alright. So, now we have a trailer full of bales. Let's go and unload that as well. Just like before, you press the Y key once, then it will raise your pile of bales. Then you press the Y key once again to release them. Drive a little forward. And then you press the Y key one final time to make the trailer go down again so it can receive more new bales. Other than that, I don't think there's much more for me to say than thank you for have watched this video. I hope that you liked it. And of course, if you liked it, then give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, then give it a thumbs down. But please tell me in the comments what you think I should do better. And finally, if you want to see what I do in the future and want to be notified whenever I do something new, then subscribe to my channel and hit that little bell, then you'll get notifications. Bye, and hope to see you in the next video.